how can I, within the day, tackle what I want to accomplish over a lifetime. A lot of people underestimate the energy and the time that it takes to actually build a business. If you look at people who we, admire in the business world, those people, they spent years of their life dedicated to this one thing, and many of them fail.
Something that we struggle with a lot with as being creatives and entrepreneurs and stuff is the sense of balance. And balance is not 50-50. Balance is a spectrum.
The people that have real impact, it was an expense. They spent something for that, and it was years of something they gave up, I just feel like it just prepares you so much for like the marketplace and business, because to grow in business, you just need to be whatever the market demands.
This is the R&B Show.
Welcome back to another episode of the R&B Show, the Real and Bold Show, where the conversations will always be real and bold. But look, I have a great person sitting next to me today. Oh, the man, the myth, the legend. Some people call him Bishop. Matter of fact, in my phone, his name is Bishop.
Is it really?
It is. Thank J-Rock for that, because he sent me your contact and it's never been same. But look, we have the owner here of Journey Well Studios. We have none other than my good friend, Tim Simmons. Man, what's going on, my guy?
Man? Thanks for having me, man.
Man, look, thank you for, let me just say this, let me give you your flowers real quick, man. Thank you for, for who you've been, who you are. I don't think people tell you that enough. I think a lot of people look at you just for what you do and what you can offer, whether it is, being the creative you are, the visionary you are, the genius mindset that you have, the gifts of music that you have as well, even your words, because, hey, man, you get behind the mic and even though you shy, sometimes it seems like you shy away from it, but, there's a lot of depth inside you. And so, I don't take it lightly that we have, the relationship that we have, and I don't take it lightly your time. Yeah. Because one thing about me, time is fleeting. That is the one thing we do not get back. That is one of the most valuable resources. Yeah. So when people offer their time, that is one of the biggest compliments and the biggest respect to me. So, man, I just want to give you your flowers,
so much,
man.
I appreciate that a ton. And you've been an amazing friend and one of those people. It's not a lot of people for me, that I can go and pick their brain and they actually stimulate my brain. A lot of times you'll say something to somebody and they'll just be like, oh, yeah, great. What you want to eat later?
Right.
Like, okay. But I can tell you things or run concepts by you, business models or ideas for business growth or spiritual concepts. We can sit and talk about anything, and you'll offer some food for thought that'll make me go and chew on it later. And I'll come back later and be like, okay, with that, what do you think about this? Or like before we got here, you were talking about scaling and systems. And so all that stuff is it just shows the depth that you have and the value that you have to offer. And I'm appreciative to have a friend that, I can go to for those things, man.
Man, I appreciate it. Look, I want to actually jump right back into the conversation that we were having right before the cameras were rolling. Like I tell y'all all the time that this is a place that we are marrying gaps in places for entrepreneurships, creatives, culture, and your faith. And a lot of times with marrying that and understanding you as a multidimensional person, there comes boundaries. And a lot of times we suffer, with placing proper boundaries as we are in people and owners, especially with our times, our gifts, our talents. And I like, how have you, done with boundaries? Like, do you struggle with it? Have you learned like there's more that I need to do to protect myself as a person, as a husband, as a friend,
I think I've evolved with the concept of boundaries over the past few years. I think definitely before I've grown with it. I think I have a lot of I don't. So I have grown, and I do have boundaries. My morning before 1 p.m. It's those are for it's. I put that for tasks that are high brain tasks, things I want to. My devotionals first, but systems, things I want to think through. That's what that time is spent for, or leads, discovery calls, stuff like that. But I'm not going to book, like a random breakfast or a random like go hang out, before 1 or 2. And then also I'm married, so I've learned how to say no to a lot more because my wife. I want to spend time with my wife, and it's when I was single, I could just do gigs all every weekend or do stuff. Playing for this one. And here's the thing also, before it was business, it was, I'm a musician, I would say maybe first or second. And so also have a big friend group, and all of them are singers, they're producers, musicians, and they're amazing. They're anointed, they're great. And so we would be playing at worship nights or just recordings and all these things. If between my friend group, I could be at a different gig every weekend. And so I've learned how to scale back and really try to focus in on what are the things I'm trying to build with my life. What are the things that, when I'm 40 and 50 that I want to see have fruit? What are the pillars of my life? And then so how can I, within the day, tackle what I want to accomplish over a lifetime? How can I give pieces of that? And so family, ministry, business, are those 3 pillars, and that you could go a little bit deeper into those, but making sure that me and my wife, at the end of the night, we're talking or watching something together, cooking, or just at home, right? And then in the daytime, that's my devotionals and business, trying to build something that I can give on to my kids.
Has there been any like specific boundary like you've struggled with, or you even currently struggle with, like that you just didn't know, like, man, kind of getting into this where I'm at now, like I actually need to like put a bigger barrier because it's just bleeding over or just being detrimental?
Oh, absolutely. The first one that comes to mind is business. Setting the proper boundary for like when it's time to get into family time and when it's just me and Mel time, because we don't have kids at the moment, but knowing when to shut down work conversations. And I also give myself grace. Like, a lot of people underestimate the energy and the time that it takes to actually build a business and scale it and grow an actual business. And I make a difference between like, one type of business, and then you're trying to like grow something that can scale. Because the goal of Journey Well was, like you were talking about with your production company, it's not for me and Mel to be the face of it. It's for us to build a team of people who are capable, smart, just bright people who can just produce this across Louisiana, across the nation, would be the goal. So like, it takes time. If you look at people who we, admire in the business world, those people, they spent years of their life dedicated to this one thing, and many of them failed a couple of times and started over, and they finally got it somewhere. And so all that to say is I know that this season that we're in is really business intense, so I don't mind the extra, the extra expense of our time it takes. Right. But lately I've been noticing, like, hey, we're like me and my wife just made 2 years on the 25th of May. So learning how to like in those business conversations, and just like when you want to talk about it, put it in your notes, bring it up, the next morning, bills have to be paid, different things, or team, hey, this person's out, or what are we going to do here or there? Another one that my friends, probably a lot of my friends hate me for is that I'm not a big phone person. So like texting in the middle of the day, answering, because you get a lot of inputs, you get a lot of things that come in, and so I really, and this is maybe to my detriment, I'm not a big like person that has to respond immediately. I believe that I manage my time, I control my time, and I have to determine what gets attention when. And just because you get a notification on your phone doesn't mean that you should just A lot of people feel different ways about that, all right? But for me, just because the notification comes in doesn't mean that it demands my time. Now, certain people, if you call, I'm answering. My wife, certain mentors of mine, people that pour into me, or spiritual parents, I would say, my parents, of course. But like just certain things that I can get to a little bit later. Now, sometimes I do forget, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not perfect with it. But one thing I am happy that I've learned to do, now I have to learn how to refine it, is being able to say, hey, look, this doesn't need immediate attention. Mm-hmm. It can wait. And then we just get to it later. And then some things you have to also be okay with missing. Like, hey, I can't make everything. I have to say no to some things. I have to say yes to some things. So I think that's how I've, with business and my family, my wife, and particularly my phone and text messages, that's how I've created boundaries.
A lot of people do. So the thing is, the reason why a lot of people, hate the concept of you get a notification and ignoring it, because a lot of people feel entitled to your time. And so, like clients, like I'm big on boundaries. Like, look, I have my working hours, just like you have your working hours. I have my days of operations. Like Sundays, I don't do anything of business.
That's good.
I've God had to teach me that. I had to learn that. Like, I'm not picking up the camera. I'm not having a conversation. Sure. I'm not having any emails. Now, there's, only every other blue moon that I have to do something like that. But no, that is a boundary. That is a Roland day. And I tell people, I ignore people. I ignore clients. Look, you will send me a message or call me about something that is not needed a response immediately, sure. Or is not a priority right now.
Sure.
And I will still be on social media, make a post, do everything else, knowing that you can see it. But because you're not entitled to my time and that's not a priority, then I feel comfortable doing that. I've also had to have hard conversation with clients because you're not my only client, and you don't pay me to be.
You're going in.
So it's just the truth. And so I've had to do that. And then they would like understand, like, oh, like, hey, like, I have other people too, because I've been in that situation where I will go and do a shoot and I'm driving to another shoot. Hey, man, you think you could send me something really quick? No. No, I cannot. I'm not even home yet. Like, I got other clients and stuff. Like, I literally just got in for the day. I've had 3 or 4 shoots.
Absolutely.
And you're asking me about something that, first of all, you haven't paid an expedited fee to rush something, or you're literally, it's more of a selfish thing. Like, you don't take in consideration. And there's clients, and that's where I always say there's business partners, because business partners do have more leeway because there's a partnership. Absolutely. And there's a genuineship of relationship. Absolutely. So there's certain ones that, I'm going to answer the phone. If they call me on a Friday night at 8:30, there's a serious reason that you're calling me. And I'm going to pick up, and it's going to be something that literally is needed. Yeah. But I've literally had clients that I was like, hey, let's follow up in 3 weeks, the week of your event, to finish all the details. If you hit me up 2 weeks, I'm not going to put it in priority because we've already established that. Absolutely. Those same clients will text me at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Hey, let's do this, and that. I'm not responding to that. I will respond at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And that's just, I'm practicing those boundaries as I don't have a wife yet. I will have a family, but those are the boundaries that I need to have the proper ebbs and flows.
Absolutely.
Just like I think something that we struggle with a lot with as being creatives and entrepreneurs and stuff is the sense of balance. And balance is not 50-50. Balance is a spectrum, a 360 spectrum. It's the ebb and flow. So this season or today may be 80% here and 20% here, but that's the balance for the day.
Absolutely. And I think people talk about I think people mention balance. One, they mention it without the right context, or they mention it without that season's lens and perspective. And then I think some people just mention that conversation and they're mentioning it like they have the 50-50 in mind, but it's just too early in life to be trying to like, oh, I need to be balanced. Like in certain seasons, like you said, it's a spectrum and you need to be grinding. Like you're in your 20s, you're in your early 30s. Like you need to be grinding. The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. You don't leave, an inheritance doesn't mean that you had a paycheck. An inheritance means you had a paycheck and you had enough enough left over that you were able to save up and then leave something for someone else in order to have a life where you have extra to leave, right? And that you've invested. You have to grind. There's certain seasons that are going to be a little bit more intense and you got to be okay with that. But you also, I think the problem is, I would love to see more people in our generation just have more vision for their lives. Like, know exactly, not exactly, but have an idea of where they're going and what they want their children to receive from them, what they want dad and mom to have given them. And so with that context, you're able to say, hey, man, you know what? I'm going to save my 20s. I'm going to save my 30s. And these 20 years are going to be super grind focused. I'm going to put my time here. And it's going to be balanced because my 40s and my 50s, I'm going to be able to do things that I wasn't able to do. I'm going to be able to relax. But I think sometimes we try to relax too early, or with that balanced mindset, we don't consider the 40s and our 50s. And man, it's going to, for us to leave our children what we really want, or for us to build something that can impact our communities, for us to have real impact. The people that have real impact, it was an expense. They spent something for that. And it was years of something they gave up, So yeah, that's when you talk about that, that's what came to mind.
But even with that, it makes me think of something that I talk about, like, and what God has always brought to me, especially when I started getting more into my faith and into ministry, and presenting Him in ways and places that other people wouldn't. Like, my prayer is, hey God, if they ain't gonna do it, send me.
Sure.
If they ain't gonna go there and you can't trust them, send me. Wow. Is that people box themselves in, and in turn they box God in. And what I mean by that is because I box what I can only do and what I can only experience. I now box in what God can do for me and through me. Yeah. And so that inherits us in our gifts, because we don't nurture our gifts. We don't identify our gifts. So our gifts can't make room for us in that sense. And so now we're living up under our means and purpose that God has designed for us. And a lot of times that now we're moving outside of that grace. So because I box God in, where I should be somewhere in 25 and not just a material thing, spiritually, emotionally, I am now behind. Sure. And now I'm working extra hard to leave that inheritance because I was like, well, God can't use me like that. Yeah. Or God can't do this for me. Or I'm looking in the mirror, you can't do that. You can't, be this lane. Like for me, I tell anybody, my whole thought was I'm just going to climb the corporate ladder. Yeah. Like, hey, I'm going into business management and I switched over to CIS. Yeah. I got one of the only person in the College of Business at Grambling State University to get one of the most sought out internships at CenturyLink. Wow. I'm like, my dean was like, oh, Roland, I don't know if you're going to get this one. Maybe look at Tyson and Walmart. I say less. Bet.
That's all I needed.
That's all I needed. I'm like, cool. I'm covering, 6-figure accounts as a intern. Yeah. Overseeing that. I'm like, yes. Yeah. This is what I'm gonna do. This is how I get here. This is where I become the VP. Yeah. This is where I become the CTO. Yeah. Like that was my goal. And and God was like, nah. And so the way things had to be ripped from me, it challenged everything that I knew, everything I thought, even my identity. I didn't even know my identity was in that. So like even when I was at IBM and everything came crashing down, I lost my self-worth. Because my worth was in what I was doing, not who I was and whose I was. Yeah. And so in that sense, I already boxed God in like, well, that's the only way I'm going to make the money and make the change, being at the top there, where God had already placed the creativity, the spirit of creativity in me. Because like I said, I'm a musician first.
Yeah.
I'm a drummer. And then I didn't know that picking up the camera was going to open up way more doors than my degree has.
Yeah.
It was going to provide me the lifestyle that I wanted and the opportunity and the freedom and the impact.
Yeah.
You know, me being in the corporate ladder was only going to keep me
Sure.
right here. But already I'm traveling to different countries.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking with people. My presence in itself being a ministry, in that sense. And I had to like literally let go and have God to like rearrange. Well, God, if that's what you say is going to be done,
Love that.
that's going to be cool. Like, for example, like the Columbia trip I just came off of.
Yeah.
And I tell a lot of people, like, people be like, oh man, you didn't this and that. I've done the preparatory work.
Yeah.
I am a madman behind closed doors. I am constantly looking out how to improve my skill set in photography, videography, and storytelling.
Love that.
But that opportunity came up. I saw it. I was like, oh, that looks cool, but I ain't gonna apply for it because I don't never get picked for stuff like that. So, you know, I'm still boxing, you know.
Yeah.
So it comes up again. I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll apply for it. I was getting up on a Sunday morning, getting ready for church. And God said, hey, remember that opportunity?
Yep.
He said, you're going to apply for it, and you're going to apply for it today.
Yep.
I don't care what you got to do,
Yep.
but you're going to create your submission. You're going to do this, and that, and you're going to get it done today.
Yep.
Lo and behold, that was actually the deadline for something I wasn't going to do, and it's already propelled my business and the network in a way that I haven't. Like I, you know, people's like, bro, you've been different since you came back from Colombia. And it was literally one of those ones where they lit my fire. I'm so used to lighting everybody else's fire, but they lit my fire. And so I'm like, okay. Because even in that moment, I was, you know, there was some times and there was some moments that I'm like, man, this is a lot.
Yeah.
This and that while I'm on the trip.
Yeah.
And God quickly was like, hey, remember you prayed for this.
That's good.
I was like, you're right. So now I had to shift perspective because now I'm understanding that you meant for me to be here.
Absolutely.
And my presence was going to do something. And a lot of times we get too ahead of ourselves saying that, well, I got to say something. I got to make this opportunity when it's your presence that will shift everything that's around you.
That's good.
But thinking about shifting everything around you, I want to kind of go back like a lot more because, you know, people has this, I feel like people have like this one-sided view of you, you know, but let's talk about like your childhood, like what molded you, what, you know, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, as I look back over my life, nothing just directs, like you wouldn't see this path clearly. I don't see it clearly. I got a word from someone that prophesied to me. The prophetic has been like a secret, has been one of the secret gems of my life, is that how the Lord's like carved out my path has been interesting, but there has just about through every season, there's almost been a prophetic word that has been given to me, some from stages, some from someone pulling me to the side and be like, hey, I just want to give you this word the Lord gave me, and just like steering and guiding me through it. But when God told me, it was like the Lord is going to kind of karate kid you. He's going to kind of bring you through all of these seemingly unrelated seasons, seemingly unrelated, you know, phases of your life. You know, I started as a bass player, started as a saxophone player, then a bass player, played keys. Then my dad became a pastor later on. Like all of these random things, right? And but he's going to bring them all together. And he also told me in that word to not basically forsake or dishonor this season because it doesn't make sense because of what you see in your heart, right? Basically, the Karate Kid saying, "Hey, I'm supposed to be this, you know, I don't even know what this, like a master in Kung Fu or whatever, but I'm doing all of these random things." And man, it's exactly what my life has been. It's like I said, I started playing. We really sung in the choir at the beginning. Then I picked up saxophone probably in the 5th or 6th grade. At the same time, we've always been in church. My parents, man, my dad would say something as we grew up, and I just did not like. But it made a lot of sense. I got his heart. He would say, if I don't give my children anything, I just want to give them Jesus. And it just seems so simple. Like, yeah, you can give us Jesus and you can give us a lot of other things.
Right.
But for him, it was just, if I could give my children Jesus, it's it. Well, what he understood was that Jesus knows the pathway, the trajectory that he's going to take us. And if he can give us the guide within his children, each of his children would get to where they need to get to. But if he gave them something other than that guide, then they would be like most people, lost, confused. And so, I just feel like that was something that he did. And he's a pastor now, but when we were growing up, he wasn't a pastor, and we would just be active in churches. And so churches, I feel like it was you probably agree, church is one of the greatest places to learn anything. Yeah. Just like put somebody, not just at church, but put someone in church and get them active, like somebody that's just like moving around and learning different departments. I just feel like it just prepares you so much for like the marketplace and business, because to grow in business, you just need to be whatever the market demands. And a lot of people get that wrong, I feel like, too, is we want to do something or provide a service, and it's like, what do people need? And I feel like throughout my life, I learned that. I guess I learned how to listen and to how to hear what people are needing. I mean, also, you probably could relate that to music. Music is a call and response all the time. With jazz, I played jazz in high school, and jazz is all about feeling your way through it, right?
Right.
It's, there's concert music that's one side. It's very scripted, amazing, and beautiful. But jazz is special because it's like people look at it and they love it because it's like, bro, it just seems like they're all doing these random things, but it's coming together. And it's because all of them they know what they're doing, they know their skill, but they also know the room. They also know what the music is, what the goal of the music is, and they agree all together, hey, we're going to get there, whatever journey or whatever path we're going to take that path, but the goal is to just get there and to enjoy the ride. And so I feel like I just learned those concepts along the way, and now in business, it just really helps. But as far as my childhood, yeah, man, we always loved the Lord, just, gave my heart to God at a very young age. And I don't know, man, it's through music and through starting to do graphic design at Full Gospel, was the church that I was at, UPC. Just got integrated and just like, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? And just one thing led to the next. And
look at you. One of the best studios in Baton Rouge. And when I say one of the best studios, I mean Journey Well. Like, look, you could be here too. Like, you could be here too. You see me talking with Tim. You can record your podcast. You can be creating your content in this beautiful space. You can have full service, or you can just rent a space. There's so much that you can do. You can even come and learn too. If you're learning and looking to be a better content creator, be a better photographer, to be a better videographer, even a better business person. Look, there's somebody here that you can be taught and you can be taken care of. So look, go to journeywell.io and check it out for yourself. Come tour the place. But, what's your favorite instrument, though?
Keys is my favorite.
Okay.
And that's crazy because if you are a musician and you know me as a bass player. And so, but keys is my favorite. I want to grow in keys. I just love being able to, I love watching and listening to a great keyboardist that can just like play. You got any favorites? Oh man. What comes to mind, he's my friend, my bro, Josh Hamilton. He is such a humble cat. Josh is a dog. The dude is amazing on keyboard. You just have so many. You have Joseph Pryor, you have Corey Henry, Eddie James, Kevin Bond, Mike Burrell. But yeah, keys is one of my favorites. So let me ask you this question. So how did you kind of like get, I wouldn't say railroaded, but like known as the bass player? Because you're a dog there too. You could play the bass. Bro, and the thing is, I didn't choose bass. Really? I didn't choose bass. And it really, and I'm learning as I talk to you. So Full Gospel was a church that we were a part of. So we were from Savannah, Georgia. My dad relocated. The job relocated him, so we came to Louisiana, and then we became a part of Full Gospel United Pentecostal Church. And there was a bass player there when we got there. So when we got there, I was my brother always played drums, but I just wasn't doing anything at that point. And there was a bass player there, and he was about to leave. Now, one thing about me, I'm very curious, always have been. So it doesn't matter who the person is or what it is. I'll ask questions. I'll pick up a book and just like start reading it. I just, there's a source and a hunger for knowledge. And so this guy, either I asked him or he told me to come up to the stage, and he would just show me how to like position my hand for the bass, like how to pluck, how to put my fingers. He would put a coin in between my hands, and he would make me hold the coin down with two of my pinky finger and my the other finger, and he would make me hold that down while I pluck, so I could use both of my fingers, just teaching me like some great rudiments for bass. And this was like random, just like great. And so before prayers and before services, I would go up there and practice and just go back to my seat. One Sunday, he doesn't show up to church. And I'm just putting all that. I didn't say this name, so we're good. He doesn't show up to church. And so I'm the bass player that's been training randomly, right? Because I'm curious. I'm like, yeah, I was learning. He doesn't show up to church. And so this is a Sunday. So this isn't a prayer. This isn't a Bible study. This is a Sunday service. And so I get up there, and I don't know what I'm doing. I just get in position, and I don't know what happened as far as what I thought I was going to actually play. But thankfully, the pastor's wife, her brother was there, and he's an amazing bass player. Amazing bass player. His name is Dietrich. And he was there, and so he hopped up and took care of the service, but I stood and just watched him. And so from that Sunday on, I just became the bass player. No one ever asked me to play, and I didn't ever say, hey, I want to play bass. And so from that moment, I just always played bass. So we went from that church and got asked to play at another church, and then so I started to actually professionally play. And one thing led to the next, and just kept going. I'm still doing it.
And so on one of the biggest stages, doing it. Do you play the drum set at all?
No, I don't. I play no drums.
Have you tried? Have you?
Yeah, I've tried it, and I realized that it's not the calling that the Lord has for my life. And I said, amen. No, I don't play drums, but my brother's an amazing drummer. So
it's being in the church, and it prepares us. You talked about that earlier. That was one thing my dad would always teach me, that like, no, the church is a business. Now, the church doesn't need to be ran as a business, as the focus, because Jesus is the focus. But a lot of that, being in church, being PKs, it taught us how to manage people. It taught us how to be flexible. It taught us how to roll with the punches and changes. A lot of times stepping in places and that we didn't feel that we were qualified for in that sense. And it allowed us a way to nurture our gifts that we now in turn use in every day. Is there like a specific gift or a specific thing that you've learned that you now use in your business that has helped you as an entrepreneur and a creative?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, I guess it would be closest to what people, the office of the pastor, but listening. I think listening is the biggest business strategy, technique, like secret listening. Being quiet, not saying anything, and listening. Because people will tell you what they need in order for them to pay you. People will tell you what their pain points are. And if you solve problems, you will never be without a paycheck. But the only way to solve a problem is to know a problem. And you can't know a problem while your mouth is open.
This is facts.
So you have to listen. Ask people about how they're doing. Dig into, try not to ask, crazy questions, but just dig and just ask them, hey, how are you? How are your family? What do you do? Okay, what is that? How did you get into that? How is that going? And then people will tell you. You ask them how their job is going or how the business is going. They were like, oh, I mean, it's so, why do you say that? Just go into it. And throughout that, you'll learn and you'll see commonalities between people and commonalities between industries. And then you'll see, what the common problems are and then a way to solve it. And so honestly, that's how I got into business. It was just, I had a camera and I thought, I thought I was going to just do photography. And then I realized that my camera was a good video camera. I was like, okay, I can just take videos. And then as I did it, I was like, man, I noticed that businesses need videography and they need photography, but I didn't know how to package it. And so I just listened and asked people and combine it. And also with listening goes researching. And I would look at how other people, I'm a big like copycat, don't care. If it works, it works. So I'll go on other people's pages and look at how they're doing different things. When I started, Sam Ross, his amazing graphic designer, I've met him maybe like once or twice, but I don't know if I've ever told him, but I used to look at his website all the time because I always wanted to be a great designer. But I would just look at how he's packaging stuff, how the things are, everything's clean, and how he presented his designs and how everything it was a difference between his work and other people's work.
Correct.
And so if you were researching there, you studied that, you would realize, okay, all these guys are good, but this dude knows how to package it. Where a business or someone who's professional would actually say, hey, look, you could be an asset to my company. You would help explain my services and how my business is a solution to the right audience. You get that and how you lay things out. And so with listening and watching and researching, because that comes with playing bass, right? So in African American churches, you don't have scores for your songs, right? You listen to the song and you figure it out. Right. And when you mess it up, you listen again.
Right.
And so I guess that concept goes with everything else. And I just put that in business, man. Just, hey, this agency's doing this really well. 368 is an agency I used to look at all the time. They're still one of the top agencies down here. Just looking at how they present. And so you just start seeing things and you're like, man. And one thing I always did was, as I approach and as I try to do something, like try to make a package, or I built our website, or I make a design, I'll make a design and I would never be, and so probably to my fault, I'm not one of those guys that be like, bro, I'm the best. I will always be like, bro, I did this, but I look at somebody who's really good and I'm always judging myself to who I feel like is the top, which always gives me place to grow, always places direction. And so I feel like with listening and always kind of having a vision for where you're trying to go is a great tool for entrepreneurs or just professionals or anyone to have. Because sometimes people get too confident too fast. Mm-hmm. It's like, bro, grind. Like, you're good. Find somebody who's really good and judge yourself there. And then you'll never, your growth would be endless.
So how do you overcome like imposter syndrome and, that even though that I'm looking at this person and comparing myself, but I don't get to that point that it cripples me from actually moving forward? Yeah,
I won't say I've learned that. I know my struggles, and that's one of them. I definitely struggle with, acknowledging, hey, you do this well, or hey, or where I struggle with what we're doing right now is the whole content space, is because in my head, now there's two sides of me, right? There's one side that says, hey, you're grinding. You are not where you're trying to get to yet. You don't need to be in front of a camera. You need to be looking at the people who are doing it well, studying, implementing. And in 5 years, when you've reached that place, which I'll never reach, but when you've reached that place, then you can get on camera and then do everything. Because I do feel like, and you probably would agree, that some people get on front of the camera too early. It's like, bro. But also, the landscape has changed. Mm-hmm. The landscape has changed where before social media was a place where you show how you got there. Social media was a place where the guys that were good show their work. But now social media is a place where we show the journey. Right. And I have to adjust with that because I'm still in the old model where it's like, don't show me you trying, show me you after you figured it out. Right. But that's not actually what works now. What works now is, hey, I want to follow you. I want to see you with nothing and then see you get to the place. So I think there's place for both of them. But to answer your question, I haven't figured it out.
But I think that kind of goes into what God has been doing a lot lately, of pulling like the veil back of being transparent of the journey.
That's good.
Because a lot of times, well, we grew up in church, you didn't show when you were hurting. You didn't show, you either I don't have it together, and then I'm going to show when I do have it together, but I don't see the in between. And so, like, I always like to say, if I show you my scars, I can show you that you can get through it too.
That's good.
And so a lot of times people don't have, we're placed in an area or a situation to go through to get the life lessons to help other people get through it.
That's good.
So even
really
in
good.
business and everything else in life, mentorship, I tell people all the time, if it took me 5 years to get through this, but I can get you there in 5 months, then that's what we're going to do, because that experience was meant for a reason.
That's really good.
But speaking of that journey, is that something that birthed the name Journey Well? Like, what's the...
Bro, so I'm a big lover of the Lord, and so I believe in certain things. Like, when I say something dropped, like the Lord just placed that word in my spirit. There was no like, oh, I picked that name because of that. There are certain moments where certain things just like come and you're like, bro, that works. And so it was just that. It was definitely when I was definitely still single and in my room I always been a note person. So I always have probably thousands of notes. And I remember being on my floor in my room, writing about something. Probably my mornings have always been like devotionals, like spend time with the Lord and then go into vision planning or something like that. And it just dropped one day and I just wrote it down. And the reason I was able to accept it and it fit well because I was telling, how do you say your name?
Kathy? Bruchelle?
Bruchelle.
Oh, we're breaking the fourth wall.
I didn't want to mess it up. I was telling Bruchelle that it was all encompassing. So Journey Well didn't, because again, back to my childhood and not, feeling like God has karate kid me and there's like a lot of things that I could do, and I've never wanted to feel like I was boxed into one thing. And so Journey Well always fits, and I love it because it's like it depicts what I want our company to do, but also it could be a company that houses other companies. So to answer your question, I feel like it fits because it encompasses a lot, and one day I want it to be a parent company where we put our other businesses under that.
So we've talked about that, and we talked about Journey Well. We've talked about, how you started with graphic design, which it's so small. Like, even before meeting you, it was like I knew you because, the circles that we run in, touring and, Henry and Kiera, like everybody is like, that small circle. So I watched you start doing photography. I watched you, the different graphics and cover art and stuff. So how did you get from graphic design, picking up a camera, Journey Well to Journey Well Studios?
Again, learning and always having this mindset of like, what's next, or just having a bigger picture mindset. When I was doing a lot of the music stuff, like covers and stuff like that, I just felt like that pull in my head. I'm a musician at heart, so this is no discredit to the music industry, but I just felt like the pool was just smaller than I wanted to be in. I wanted there to be no reason why I couldn't go to a business and say, hey, I'll have a solution for you while still having a solution for an artist or a musician. So that mindset and desire was always there, but I didn't know how to position myself to be able to be of service to a business owner. So what got me there, man, I don't know. I think just meeting, I know I started, the guy was a lawyer of a church in this city, and I made a proposal for him and told him how I could make some social media stuff for him, and it never worked out, but that strategy and framework that I used to like reach out to him and how I positioned my business and thought this could work, and took the graphics that I was making for like an album release. I would say, okay, I can take that same framework but now make graphics for a business. How could I do that? And so just kind of like piecing things together and trying to see what the difference of the industry and what they could need, and whatever I was doing, what was similar, how could I bring that over to business? or a law firm or a, consultant agency or whatever it is. So I always was open-minded. Right. I didn't feel like just because I was doing musician stuff or artist stuff, I couldn't do a business. I just knew I didn't have the language for it yet. So I don't know. It wasn't a clear path to business. It was just me being open to it.
But let's talk a little bit about the vulnerabilities of being a business owner, jumping into something like this. Because we talked about in the beginning of looking like, hey, some months look good, some months don't look. This is my livelihood. Mm-hmm. For on the outside, everybody sees what you have and where you're at, and it just seems like you have it all together. But there's a lot of times, just as a business owner, as a husband, as a friend, that you're like, bro, I don't even know how we gonna make it to tomorrow.
So real.
You want to share any of that vulnerability, that may help other business owners, other people watching, other people just in their faith of to keep pushing, even when everything else is going completely wrong.
Bro, I don't want to sound super spiritual, but bro, all I have is the Lord. Meaning, when they're just getting straight to the question, there's been many moments where at the beginning, man, a year and a half ago, there was many months where we didn't know how we was gonna pay the rent for this place. And that was super scary. We didn't have the money. Some months the money would come in. Some months we paid it through credit, right? It's just figuring it out. But there's been many nights me and Mel was in this very studio and we prayed. There were moments we prayed for money, right? Lord, we need money to pay the rent. And there were moments we rejoiced because the money had came in.
Right.
So all in this one, literally dancing around here at 10, 11:30, either praying, Lord, we need finances, or praying, Lord, thank you because you answered our prayer. So the key, I would say, is the Lord. Realizing that what I have is not because of me being so amazing or the idea I have or the skills I have. It's because God actually gave it to me. And we are humble enough, I would say, to realize that we're not smart enough to have thought all of this up. With that, if it wasn't us that started it, and if it wasn't our idea that started it, it's someone else's, and it's the Lord's. Now, if it's his dream, if it's his vision to see it happen through us, then it's his responsibility to provide for it.
You preaching on this good Wednesday evening, man.
So with that release with that humility comes an understanding of where the provision should come from. So this is the Lord's company. This is the Lord's business. When we wanted this building and it wasn't ours and we didn't know how it looked, me and Mel stood and we were dating. That's another reason. That's another we weren't even married. We stood out there in my truck and we looked at the building and we just looked at it as a dream, a scary big dream. And it wasn't like we had a small studio to begin with. We did. We did have a office space, but it wasn't a studio. It was an office space. So it wasn't like we started from a small studio to a big studio. We just saw this big warehouse and was like, bro, we could do something cool in here. But how we going to do this, we're not sure. But we stood out there and we prayed in our truck, and then we got out the truck and we put our hands on the building and we prayed. And we prayed over it, and then we thought we heard the alarm in the building, and then we got scared and we ran back in the truck. But we prayed over this building and was like, Lord, if you would give us this building, it would be your house. It would be your place. It would be a place where businesses could come and grow. We pray that communities would grow, that all the businesses on the street would grow because we're here. And so what that means, and why I'm saying that is, we gave it to the Lord to begin with. We said, Lord, if you do this, we'll steward it, but it's yours. And so, when we don't have enough, we go to him and we say, Lord, we need help. Now, practically, we're, like I said, we're super open with ideas. We are always open to different strategy. So the podcasting thing wasn't something we started off with. It was something that we were open with. And so God has given us a lot of ideas of different ways of bringing in resources. The studio rental, it was something we talked about, but God really allowed that to be another stream of income where we can make money when we're not shooting. People can rent it out. But the point I'm making is that the key for us, or the super vulnerable, what I would say that's vulnerable is like when we didn't have enough, we realized it was the Lord that we needed to focus on, and it was his bill to pay. And he's happy to pay it. He just wants people to know that we're looking for him to pay it and not ourselves. Because a lot of times we freak out because we're thinking the provision comes from us. And all he wants, he has endless provision. Provision is not a problem. It's a matter of faith, and it's a matter of what do we actually think. And so he's just waiting on someone to be like, do you want to do it and you want the credit? Or do you mind giving me the glory and I'll do it through you? That's the difference. Do you want the credit? With the credit comes the worry. With the credit comes the responsibility. But when you say, Lord, this is you, he says, all right, all you got to do is give me the glory and I'll do the rest. So that's why I give him the glory when you ask me that question, because it's like, bro, there's no, if you can't make this stuff up. Right. You know?
No, that's amazing. And, just seeing like, and it must feel, amazing to have God work through you. And, you provided people with all these different opportunities just through the studio in itself. Watching people come in and just like, wow, like, watching their content come together, and there's a certain type of blessing because they're in a space in the house there is. And I actually tell clients that, like, there's a lot of clients that say, man, Roland, whenever you're here and you take photos, you take videos, it just does amazingly well, or this sells. Like, I had a client that came to me to just do some simple Amazon product photography. A month later, he told me, I've been on Amazon for months. He said, ever since I put them photos up of your work, we increased sales by 1,300%. And 1,300%. And I was like, that's wild. Because I know who I am and whose I am. When things are like, I'm in different spaces, I know what I carry. Yeah. And so there's a blessing of being in that presence, not in a cocky way, it's in a confident way, because I know how God has been in my life and what he's doing in my life and how he leads everything in my life. So there's a blessing of working with me. There's a blessing of working with Journey Will Studios, because of, this is not my business. Yeah. This is not my life. Yeah. I'm here to serve. Yeah. And so that is one of the biggest things that I think we miss as business owners, is that we're here to serve. We're here to serve others. And so once we get back into that standpoint of how can I serve this client, how does me serving the business and the vision that God gives him glory in the end, it's just going to make things a lot easier to go forward.
And I think, bro, it's our responsibility, and all the other Christian business owners, it's our responsibility to show people and to tell people that story, that it's the Lord's business, it's his provision, because people do what they see. And, you talked about earlier, people having small minds. It's because, I think what we see typically when it comes to business and all of these things, or doing something great, we see a great person. We see skills. We see intelligence. All right, that person is just super smart. When you think about Elon Musk, he's just in his class by himself. Or you think about this sports player, right? They're just amazing, right? But when we put our, when we look at it like that, then it becomes, man, I don't have that, or I do have that.
Right.
But the secret to, me and my wife's life is that we realize what's bigger than us. And if you don't have anything bigger than you, then you are the cap. Right? So when you have something bigger than you, God is our source. He's the thing, right?
Right.
And he's endless. He's the reason why we're breathing. He's the reason why we get to create stuff, we get to build, because he's who he is, right? And so when you have something that you're under, when you have something that's bigger than you, then the pressure for performing, the pressure for building, the pressure for doing something great goes away. Why? Because it's not you that's going to do it. You're under something. You come from something that's big.
Right.
A plant can only grow as big as the base or the pot that it's in. But if you put it in something or you put it in a field that's huge, it's endless growth capabilities. And I think people, that's why, being a Christian or just loving the Lord is one of the coolest things you can do, is because he wants people that he can champion and that he can do great things through. But he just wants those people to know that it's not you that's going to do it. You get to co-partner with the Lord. You get to, grab a hold to his vision and get to, steward it. And, some people give you the credit, and all you have to do is give it back to God, and he'll keep doing great things through you.
Yes, sir, man. Man, look, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you taking the time out and getting in front of the camera, even though we talked about, hey, we need but that's one of the biggest things, we can still be growing and still be making our imprint, because the biggest thing is we have words, and God has put something in us. And a lot of times that we are hindering others by not releasing what's inside of us, because we are trying to self-protect ourselves, because we don't want people to feel a certain type of way, and we dim our light to fit in. And that's the biggest change for me this year, when God was like, hey, you got to get this out. You got to start doing this. And what I've put inside you is going to make a pathway. So now you have to charge for what you're saying. You have to charge for what you're doing. Because the last thing that I'll say is, a lot of time in the era of Christianity and churches and stuff, a lot of times we've gotten confused what honor is and what acknowledgement is. And so honor comes with substance. Acknowledgement is the word. And so a lot of times where we're saying we're honoring somebody, we're actually just acknowledging them and not giving them the substance that comes with it.
That's good.
And a lot of times that substance is a price.
That's good.
And we've seen that all through the Bible. And now we've come to the point of acknowledgement and charity. So, we want you to do it under charity. And God was like, I do things in excellence. Everything revolves under me. Even money revolves under me. That's the reason why it's talked so much in the Bible. But if the enemy can stifle that, then I cannot have the kingdom flow in the way of commerce and economics in a way. Just like we talk about the spiritual giftings, and one gift that we always go over and we just gloss over is the gift of giving. And even though, yes, it is good. Sometimes it is time and talent, but mainly it is treasure.
Come on.
Because God is always designing, because he's the one who's created finance. And it's a spiritual gift, but we always make it a physical thing. And the reason why we don't see it in the church the way that we need to, or in outside of the church that is need to, is because we don't have people that understand how to identify it, nurture it, and cultivate it as it is a spiritual gift, and not looking at it as a physical gift.
It's really good.
In that sense. And so now we shy away from actually being truly honored and making that way and that gift, because now that I become that blessing that blesses others, like Journey Well has done. So I just want to encourage you to continue to lean forward to not only that, the price is the price. We coming to the point, unless God says so, we're not giving discounts. We're not giving all these other deals.
That's good.
The price is the price, because that price is also going to honor God. And not only that, it's going to honor God, it's going to provide substance, and it's going to provide a way to pay for other people. Because if God has said, hey, I wanted you to make this $100,000 because there's somebody else that needs that 20.
Yeah, that's good.
But if you only charge 50,
that's really good.
Exactly. So, man, look, I appreciate you, bro, for coming on. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to the R&B Show. Look, like, subscribe, comment. Remember, if you're not subscribed, we can't be friends. And I don't want that, I don't want that at all. So look, enjoy your day, and always remember, keep on rolling.